Have you ever promised yourself, this is the last time, the last drink, the last binge, the last late night scrolling session, the last online shopping spree, the last gaming marathon, the last time you would lose hours watching videos, and you meant it completely. But somehow, a few days later, or maybe only a few hours later, you found yourself doing exactly the same thing again. If you have ADHD, this experience is far more common than most people realize. And here's the important part. It usually isn't about a lack of willpower. It isn't because you're weak, and it isn't because you secretly don't want to change. It's because you're caught inside what I call an ADHD addiction cycle, a neurological loop that many intelligent adults don't even realize they're living in. Today we're going to explore why these cycles happen, why breaking them is so difficult, and why understanding your ADHD brain may be the key to finally escaping them. Before we continue, if you enjoy practical, science-based ADHD strategies that help you understand how your brain actually works, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Let's begin. ADHD doesn't just affect attention. Most people think ADHD is simply an attention disorder, but ADHD affects much more than attention. It affects executive functioning, emotional regulation, impulse control, motivation, reward processing, and perhaps most importantly, dopamine. The ADHD brain is constantly trying to regulate stimulation. Sometimes life feels painfully understimulating. Other times it feels emotionally overwhelming. Your brain is always searching for balance, and that's where addiction cycles often begin. The real purpose of addictive behaviors. Most people assume addiction is about pleasure, but for many adults with ADHD, it's actually about relief. Alcohol may quiet a racing mind. Gaming provides instant achievement. Sugar creates a temporary dopamine boost. Shopping offers excitement. Social media delivers constant novelty. Pornography provides intense stimulation. Even endless scrolling can temporarily reduce boredom or emotional discomfort. These behaviors don't begin because you're trying to destroy your life. They begin because, for a brief moment, they work. They reduce mental noise. They create stimulation. They regulate uncomfortable emotions. They help your brain feel normal. The problem isn't that they work. The problem is that they only work temporarily. The ADHD Addiction Cycle. Nearly every addiction follows the same pattern. Something triggers your brain. Maybe it's boredom, stress, loneliness, overwhelm, mental exhaustion, or emotional pain. Almost automatically, your brain remembers something that previously created relief. You engage in the behavior. For a short time, you feel better. Your brain relaxes, your emotions calm, or your dopamine rises. Then comes the crash. The relief disappears. Sometimes guilt appears, sometimes shame, sometimes exhaustion, sometimes simply emptiness. Now your brain feels even worse than before. So the next trigger becomes even harder to resist, and the cycle repeats. Not because you're weak, because your brain has learned a shortcut for temporary regulation. Why knowing better isn't enough. One of the most painful parts of ADHD is that you usually know exactly what's happening. You know smoking isn't helping. You know another drink won't solve the problem. You know scrolling for 3 hours isn't what you planned. You know buying something else won't create lasting happiness. Yet you still do it. Why? Because knowledge and behavior are controlled by different systems. Your logical brain says, stop. Your ADHD brain says, I need relief now. When those two systems conflict, immediate relief almost always wins. This is why simply telling yourself to have more discipline rarely works. You can't solve a neurological regulation problem with guilt. The good news. Here's what gives me hope. Once you understand the cycle, you stop seeing yourself as broken. You begin asking better questions. Instead of asking, why do I keep failing? You ask, what is my brain trying to regulate right now? That single question changes everything. Because once you identify the real trigger, you can begin replacing the function instead of simply fighting the behavior. You're no longer trying to remove something your brain depends on. You're learning healthier ways to meet the same need. That is where lasting change begins. Final thoughts. If today's video resonated with you, I want you to remember this. Your addiction is rarely the real problem. The addiction is often the solution your ADHD brain discovered for a deeper problem. Once you understand that, the shame begins to disappear. And when shame disappears, real change becomes possible. I wrote my book, ADHD and Addiction Cycles, Understanding the Link Between ADHD, Alcohol, Gaming, and Self-Medication, and How to Take Back Control, because I wanted to explain this hidden connection in depth. In the book, I explore why so many intelligent adults with ADHD become trapped in repeating patterns, how dopamine and emotional regulation drive these cycles, and practical strategies to help you interrupt them and build healthier ways of regulating your brain. The book also includes a 90-day reset framework designed to help you move from awareness to lasting change. These are the core themes explored throughout the book. You can also visit ADHD-solution.com, ADHD-solution.com, where you'll find the book, additional ADHD resources, practical audio programs, and a free ADHD assessment that can help you identify your own ADHD patterns. The more clearly you understand your brain, the easier it becomes to build a calmer, healthier, and more enjoyable life with ADHD. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel. Every week, we'll explore ADHD, executive function, dopamine, emotional regulation, productivity, and practical strategies that help intelligent adults stop surviving with ADHD and start thriving. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.